Revelation 14:7 reads, "Fear God and give glory to him, for the hour of his judgment has come." Wait, what? When did this hour of judgment start? Well, to answer this question, we will be adopting one of the basic principles of Bible interpretation. It reads precept upon precept, line upon line, a little here, a little there. Now what that means is, if we do not at any time fully understand what a text is saying, that's okay. Refer to somewhere else in the Word of God where the same issue is addressed for clarity. And the logic is, since God is consistent, there will be no contradictions but clarity in comparing his words. The book of Daniel will be a good place to start. And 8 verse 14 reads, "For 2,300 days, then the sanctuary shall be cleansed." Succinctly put, a timeline preceding the start of an event. You are most likely thinking right now, what has any of that got to do with the judgment? And how does this answer our question? Well, let's start by considering each part of the text, Daniel 8:14. The event, cleansing of the sanctuary, what does that mean? You see, when God instituted the sanctuary services, he desired to share with us his solution to the same problem. Both the sanctuary and the services and rituals were a shadow, a copy of the original in heaven. So let's say Harry sinned. Part of the ritual required Harry to bring an animal to the sanctuary, lay his hands on the animal, confess his sins over the animal, slay the animal. Then the high priest transferred the blood of the sacrifice to the holy place. This was a daily sacrifice. The logic here being, since the ransom for sin is the life of the sinner, and the life of all flesh is in his blood, spilling the blood of the substitute and transferring it to the holy place was tantamount to transferring the sin of Harry to the holy place. Please note, at this point, Harry's sins are not fully dealt with, only transferred to the holy place. So once a year, on the Day of Atonement, the high priest goes into the most holy place, where through a ritual he transfers the sin of the people from the most holy place unto himself. And at the door of the tabernacle, he transfers the sins from himself to the scapegoat that is later exiled from the people along with all their sins. This ritual signified an eternal separation of the people and the sanctuary from their sins, and a verdict passed on the scapegoat, representing Satan, the originator of sin. Can you think of one word that perfectly encapsulates these processes and rituals on this Day of Atonement? The judgment. God's judgment vindicates the righteous, condemns Satan and the wicked, and eternally separates us from Satan and sin. Succinctly put, the ritual of cleansing of the sanctuary is synonymous with the judgment. So, Daniel 8:14 could actually read, "Unto 2,300 days, then God's judgment begins." Since we have decoded the event as God's judgment, let's try to understand the timeline prior this event. Daniel 8:14 suggests this 2,300 days timeline precedes the start of the cleansing of the sanctuary. So question is this a literal or symbolic timeline? And when do we start counting? For the first question, we have a couple of clues. Clue number 1. You will notice that this prophecy was giving us part of a prophetic overview of Earth's history in Daniel chapter 8, corresponding to chapters 2 and 7. Clue number 2. If the animals in the prophecy were assumed symbolic in Gabriel's interpretation, It is only consistent to assume same for the latter part of the same prophecy, implying the day-year principle. 1 day equal to 1 year, 2,300 days equal to 2,300 years. Question number 2. Where exactly do we start the count? Why is this important? Well, the text says 2,300 years from the start of the count leads us to the beginning of an event, the cleansing of the sanctuary, synonymous with the judgment. According to Gabriel, X begins at 457 BC. So 2,300 years minus 457 leads us to 1844. The judgment begins. What to remember here? At this time, 1844, the earthly sanctuary sacrificial system was no more valid. The text therefore had to be referring to the heavenly sanctuary. Clue number 3. As you will see in the next slide, comparing highlights of events within this timeline to history further confirms this day-year interpretation as valid. Just in case you do not get it thus far, that's fine. Daniel did not get it the first time. Gabriel had to come back a second time, and he split this timeline into 2 major halves. The first 70 weeks implying 490 years, multiplying by 7 to convert to days and then years, and the remaining 1820 years by subtracting the 490 years from 2,300 years. Gabriel then focuses on the 70 weeks, which he subsequently split into 7 weeks, 62 weeks, and then the last week, which is split into 2 halves. For each of these time periods, he prophesied something specifically that history confirms actually happened. The second thing to remember here, the Bible and the history confirm each of these events happened as prophesied 2,300 years earlier, which further validates this interpretation that the judgment has already started. What to remember number 3. Since investigative judgment always precedes sentencing, and sentencing execution of sentences, when Jesus returns, he will be executing sentences already passed in the currently ongoing judgment. Here are your Sabbath takeaways. Today, Jesus the judge is asked to be your attorney to guarantee acquittal on the judgment. This offer lasts while you are still alive. 2. Remember, today is giving, tomorrow is not promised. While you're still thinking about it, make this tweet go viral. Let everyone understand this truth and the urgency of the matter. The hour of his judgment has come. The judge is offering today to be our attorney. Thank you for watching. I remain your Sabbath Doodle, and I'll see you next Sabbath. Happy Sabbath.